Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod Science classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current affairs of 4th January 2021. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 7 topics which are very much relevant to UPSC. So let's get started with our first article and let us see what are the important news items. And the first important article mainly talks about India approves 2 COVID-19 vaccines for emergency use. So this article will be important regarding health, which comes under GS paper 2, and this topic is important regarding prelims and the mains. So what is important regarding prelims and what is important regarding mains? Regarding prelims, you need to see some facts regarding these 2 COVID-19 vaccines, and regarding mains, you need to see about this emergency use of the drug and which is the authority which is approving for the emergency use. So now we are going to discuss context. We are going to see some important details which are given in this article and as well as some facts. So if you see the context, it mainly says that Central Drugs and Standard Committee, that is CDSCO, which formally approved COVID-19 vaccines. So those 2 vaccines are, the first one is Covishield, that is from Serum Institute of India, and the next one is Covaxin from the Bharat Biotech. So in this context, Health Minister also said that there are about 3 crore people who are mainly frontline workers and as well as healthcare workers. They would be given vaccine for free. And now let us see some facts regarding this vaccine, that is Covishield and Covaxin. So if you are talking about this Covishield, this vaccine mainly developed by the Serum Institute of India, and it is a Pune based vaccine which is from the Oxford Zeneca, okay, Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine here, and this Covishield vaccine which got the conditional approval now, and the vaccine efficiency it found to be 70.4% according to the phase 3 clinical trials which was conducted by UK and Brazil. So in this phase 3 clinical trials which conducted by the UK and Brazil, they said that efficiency it is about 70.4%. An important thing regarding this Covishield vaccine here is it mainly used non-replicated virus as a vector. So vector means any organism or any microorganism which is mainly used to carry the genes of so and so virus which is causing disease, that is called as a vector. The vector which is used in this vaccine here is adenovirus. So this adenovirus, it is a virus which mainly causes common cold in the chimpanzees. And one important thing here, that is it says it is a non-replicated virus. So what is the meaning of this non-replicated virus? So adenovirus, it will be genetically modified. So in such a genetically modification, so this adenovirus once entering into the humans, it will not replicate. So because of this, this name of this vaccine which is given here is non-replicated virus vaccine. And now let us see some facts regarding the Covaxin. This Covaxin mainly developed by Bharat Biotech and ICMR. So now this Bharat Biotech and ICMR approved for the restricted emergency use in the clinical trial mode. So if you are talking about the efficacy of this vaccine, so till now the data which is not published, so the data will be not yet published now. And the next one is during the first 2 months after the rollout. So whoever the individual or whoever the firm who took this vaccine, they need to report adverse events of this vaccine every fortnight, that is every 15 days they need to report if they have any adverse effects or not. So in the phase 1 and the phase 2 clinical trials, they determine the safety and as well as immunogenicity, that means the efficacy of the vaccine. And now let us see one important topic, that is how emergency use approval for the drug is granted. The first one is here, the first step here is emergency use authorization of any drug, which is mainly granted only after a sufficient evidence is present regarding the safety and the efficacy of the drug. So after we have the safety and the efficacy of the drug data, then only this emergency use authorization will be granted. So the final approval will be given by the Drug Controller General of India, that is DCGI. So only after the completion of the trials and analysis of the complete data regarding the drug. So this emergency use approval, that will be allow the vaccine to be administered mainly to the people on certain conditions. So that conditions include, the first one is it should be given within a limited period of time. Only the limited period of time this will be permission given or granted. And the next one is it should be given to only specific group of the people, not to all. So these are the some important conditions. And now let us see some facts regarding the Drug Controller General of India, that is DCGI. So this DCGI, which is mainly responsible for the approval of license of specified categories of the drugs. For example, we can say blood related compounds, IV fluids, vaccines, sera, etc. So this DCGI mainly comes under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So this DCGI, which comes under the gamut of CDSCO, that is Central Drug Standards Control Organization. So this will comes under this CDSCO. So this DCGI will lay down the standards for the quality of the manufacturing, for selling of the drugs, import and as well as distribution of the drugs across the country. And the next important function is it is also acts as an appellate authority. Whenever there are any disputes regarding the quality of the drugs, it will act as an appellate authority. And the next one is it will prepares and also maintains the national reference standards regarding what should be the standard for the drug. Whether if at all any new drug which is come up by any industry or any pharmaceutical industry, that will be tested with this reference standard. And the next one is it will also brings out the uniformity in the enforcement of Drug and Cosmetic Act. So this Drug and Cosmetic Act is very important regarding the drugs. So it will also ensure that there is a proper enforcement of the Drug and Cosmetic Act that is present throughout the country. And the next one is it will also provide the training to the drug analyst. Those are deputed to the state drug control labs and as well as other institutions. So these are some important facts and the details that you should remember regarding this article. Now let us see the next article. Title says banana grit for that good gut feeling. So this article mainly talking about banana grit or banana granules, and it mainly says that it is good for gut. Gut means intestines. So this article again important regarding health because it is talking about gut feeling. And this article also important regarding economy. So this economy which comes under the GS paper 3, and this article will be especially important regarding mains. So you can add this case study, you can add this article as a case study whenever you are writing answer regarding the food processing in India. And now let us see the context, some details and as well as what is the significance here. So if you see the context, it says that scientists at CSIR, National Institute for Interdisciplinary Science and Technology, that is NIIST Kerala, which came up with a new product that is banana grit or granules. So this is mainly developed one species of banana, that is Nendron bananas. If you see the details of this banana grit, it is one of the ideal ingredient for the healthy diet. It is also used for making the wide range of dishes because banana mainly used in the wide range of dishes in the Kerala. So how this ripe banana which is used for the making of the dishes, in the same way this banana grit can be also used to make the dishes. And this article also says that it can help to utilize the presence of resistant starch that is present in banana. So if you're talking about one important feature of this banana species here is, so this specific banana mainly contains resistant starch. So this resistant starch, it is very much good for the intestinal health. So because of this important property that is present in this banana, they came up with this new research. And now let us see what is the significance of this step. So whenever we are going for the processing of the food, so here the raw banana mainly converted into this banana granules, right? So whenever this material, that food material which is converted into another form, it is called as a food processing. So whenever we are going for this research, that will also helps to establish this food processing units in that area. It will provide the local employment in that area. So this is the one important significance. And next one is it will improve the gut health. Because of this new research, we found that so and so banana has a resistant starch. So this resistant starch will act on the gut. So it will improve the gut health, that is intestine health. So this is the second significance. And the next one is it will also boon to the farmers who often been struggling against the falling of the prices. So whenever the farmers, they have the bumper crop, then there will be the fall of the prices because of the increase in the supply of the bananas in the market. Because of this, there is a decrease in the or the fall in the prices that is seen. So whenever we have the food processing units, these farmers will go to this food processing units and directly they can sell those produce in that units such that they can get good income. Okay, so this is the sum of the significance of this step. And now let us see the next article. Title says economy is on fast recovery track. So this is the article which is an interview of the finance secretary. So let us try to understand what are the important details which are given by this finance secretary. And this article which is important regarding economy point of view, which comes under GS paper 3. If you see the context, here GST collections which are hitting a record in the December 2020. So because of the increase in the GST collections, here finance secretary says that economy is undoubtedly on the fast track recovery now. So because there is evidence of increase in the GST collections. And he also said that they are mainly working to improve the tax compliance. So because of the some measures which are taken by the government to increase the tax compliance, that led to increase in the GST collections in the month of December 2020. And he also said that there is a close data exchange between the income tax, custom duty, banks and as well as GST. So these data which is present in these different departments, and now they are the close exchange of the data, that will lead to the data analytics very easily by using the artificial intelligence. And he also focused on one important scheme, that is Vivid Se Vishwas scheme. So this Vivid Se Vishwas scheme already helped to settle cases worth of rupees 83,000 crores out of estimated rupees 8 lakh crore rupees. So he also added a note on this Vivid Se Vishwas scheme. Now let us see some details regarding this Vivid Se Vishwas scheme. So this will be important regarding prelims again. So this scheme, that is Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, was announced by the Union Finance Minister during her first budget speech on February 1st, 2020. So this Vivad Se Vishwas scheme mainly announced by our finance minister in the budget speech. So the important aim of this scheme, it is to settle the huge number of pending direct tax cases. So it mainly talking about direct tax cases. And this scheme mainly covers the disputes which are pending at a level of commissioner, at a level of income tax appellate tribunals, high courts, supreme courts, etc. And it also offers a complete waiver on interest and as well as penalty to the taxpayers if they are paying the tax which is pending by March 31st, 2021. And the next one is this scheme will benefit those who have the tax demand, and as well as they have the lock in the disputes in the multiple forums, they can go for the dispute resolution. Okay, so this is about this scheme. And now let us see the next article. Title says FSSAI slashes the limit for trans fat levels in the food. So this article mainly focusing on trans fat levels. So the students from non-science background, they need to know what is this trans fat level and how it is showing the negative impacts on the health. So this article will be important regarding science and technology, which comes under GS paper 3. And this article will be very important regarding prelims. Now let us see the context and as well as some important details which are highlighted in this article. So the context says that FSSAI, that is the Food Safety Standards Authority of India, which came up with our amendment. So the amendment regarding the food safety and standards prohibition and restriction on sales. So it is coming up with some amendment in this, that is food safety standards prohibition and restriction on sale. So because of this amendment, it mainly says that this amendment that capped the amount of the trans fatty acids that are present in the oils and as well as the fats to 3% by 2021, and there is also limit on this trans fatty acids, that is to 2% by 2022. If you see the current permissible limit of this trans fatty acid here is 5%. So now they are decreasing to 3% by 2021 and 2% by 2022. So if you see this regulation, that will be mainly applies to edible refined oils, vanaspati, margarine and as well as bakery shortenings. So for these products, this regulation will be highly applicable. So why this decision taken by this? So why this decision? Because these trans fats, they are mainly associated with the increased risk of heart attacks and as well as the deaths which are mainly caused because of the coronary heart disease. So because of the heart attacks and as well as coronary heart disease, that is leading to the increased deaths in India. So if you see the data which is given by the WHO, that is World Health Organization, it mainly says that approximately about 5.4 lakh deaths that will take place per year globally because of the intake of industrially produced trans fatty acid. So because of the intake of this trans fatty acids, so globally, that is throughout the world, we are seeing 5.4 lakh deaths that are happening every year. Because of this, WHO mainly calls for global elimination of the trans fats by 2023. So by 2023, we need to eliminate these trans fats. Now let us try to understand the facts regarding what is this trans fat. So if you see here, if you are talking about the fact, we come across three important terms. The first one is saturated fatty acids, second one is unsaturated, third one is trans fatty acid. So this saturated fatty acids and these trans fatty acids, they are similar in structure. But if you see in unsaturated, they are very good for the health. And if you're talking about the saturated, they also cause some dangers. But comparing with the dangers which are causing by the saturated acids, this trans fatty acids will cause more danger because of the because it will lead to the increase in the level of the bad cholesterol and it will decrease the level of the good cholesterol that is present in the body. So now let us try to understand this trans fat. So these trans fats, they are more harmful type of the fats which can have much more adverse effect on our body than when we are taking this trans fat through the dietary content. So if you are talking about this trans fat, we can have both artificial and as well as natural. So whenever we are taking this natural, the source include the meat and as well as dairy products. So in this source, we are taking through these dietary products like the meat and the dairy. So it is very low amount. But whenever we are taking these trans fats which are produced artificially, so how they are produced artificially? So these trans fats, they are formed when the hydrogen which is made to react with the oil. So whenever this hydrogen which is made to react with the oil, then it will produce some fats. So these fats, they are mainly resembling like the pure ghee and as well as the butter. So how the butter will be, how the ghee will be. So in the same way, whenever we are artificially reacting or make to react this hydrogen with the oil, we are producing the fats. And those fats, they resemble like pure ghee and as well as the butter here. So if you are talking about the major sources of this artificially produced trans fats, they are mainly from partially hydrogenated vegetable oils and vanaspati and margarine. So these are the three important sources of this artificially produced trans fats. So now let us try to understand the harmful effects. So if you see this harmful effect, the first one is there is a higher risk of heart disease than the saturated fats, and this trans fatty acids that will increase the total cholesterol level in the body, that will lead to the blockage of the arteries. And the next one is it will also decrease the high density cholesterol. So this HDL will be very important for our health, and this is also considered as a good cholesterol, and it mainly helps to protect us against the heart disease. So because of the decrease in the level of this good cholesterol, what happened here, it will increases the total cholesterol or the bad cholesterol that is present, that is LDL level. So in this way, because of this increasing of the LDL and decreasing of the HDL, that will lead to the heart disease. And the next one is trans fat consumption that will increase the risk of developing the heart disease and the stroke because of the blocking of the arteries with the cholesterol. And the next one is these trans fats will have the higher risk because it will help in the developing of the obesity. It will also lead to a type 2 diabetes mellitus, which mainly caused because of the insulin resistance. And the next one is metabolic syndrome, and as well as it will also cause infertility and certain type of the cancer in the humans. And if you see what are the reasons why we are using this trans fats, here whenever we are going for the artificial production of the fats by reacting oil with the hydrogen, so then we can preserve those oils for the longer time. So for the preservation of those oils for the longer time, we are going for this trans fat method. And the next one is they will give the food the desired shape and the texture. So when we are using vanaspati in the sweets, what happens, the texture of the sweets will be very much different and very much very smooth, and they can be easily substitute the pure ghee. So if you are talking about the cost of the ghee, it is ranging from the 800 to 900 if you are purchasing the pure ghee. Okay, so because of this, whenever we want to make the sweets or whenever we want to make the biryanis, we need to use the ghee, right? So in that case, the people who cannot afford this ghee, they will go for the simple substitutes of those. Then they get the choice of this vanaspati here. So in this way, here these trans fatty acids, they will easily substitute the pure ghee. And the next one is the cost of them, it is very low when compared to that of the ghee here. And in this case, whenever we are going for the alternative which is low cost, then we can also increase our savings. So these are the reasons why we are using this trans fats. And now let us see the next article. Title says a hurried gamble. So this article, which is mainly regarding the COVID-19 vaccine emergency authorization. So this article mainly focusing on vaccine hesitancy. So now let us see what is the context and what are the important details and as well as some facts regarding this vaccine hesitancy. So if you see, the context here is, as we know, DCGI, which formally approved 2 vaccines for the restricted use under emergency condition, that is the Covishield and the Covaxin here. So if you're talking about the context of India which is long known for the manufacturing of the vaccines, and India which is mainly doing good in the pharmaceutical industry. But if you're talking about the vaccine production, we have only 3 vaccine candidates. Out of those 3, we got the approval for the 2 vaccine candidates, right? So whenever we are going for the development or whenever we are going for the production of these vaccines and supply to the world, so we have the less capacity, right? So if you're talking about this pandemic, so this pandemic mainly provided one unprecedented opportunity mainly to establish the credential. But whenever we are talking about the vaccine efficacy, so we do not have the exact vaccine efficacy data regarding the Covaxin. And based on the phase 3 trials of this Covishield which conducted by the UK and Brazil, they said it have the vaccine efficacy of 70.3%. So in this case, whenever we are going for a double-blinded phase 3 trial, so in this double-blinded phase 3, we are going to take 2 groups. One group we are giving the vaccine and another group we are not giving any vaccine. And based on this, we are determining the vaccine's ability, whether it is efficient or not, whether it is producing the immune or whether it is producing the antibodies or not. So these are the things which are mainly seen in this clinical trials. So if you are talking about Indian vaccine candidates, so these 2 vaccine candidates like Covaxin and the Covishield, they got the approval. So this Bharat Biotech vaccine, which is now in the phase 3 clinical trial, but regarding the efficiency, we do not have the information. So this information that yet to furnish or that yet to publish here. So if you are talking about SII, that is Serum Institute of India, that is AstraZeneca vaccine. So the phase 3 clinical trial mainly conducted by the UK and the Brazil, and the data which is not published regarding that, and they said that it has a 70.3% of efficacy. And in this context, if you are talking about the concern, so approving the untested vaccine, that means we do not have the proper efficacy data of these vaccines in the phase 3 clinical trial. So before having the data regarding this phase 3 clinical trial, whenever we are going for the approval of the drug, it makes it nearly impossible to conduct the proper phase 3 clinical trial here. Because whenever we are going for the approval of this untested vaccine, it will be unethical, and it will also expect that the volunteers, they will not participate in the trial because they will show the vaccine hesitancy. Why there is a vaccine hesitancy? Because already the original vaccine which is available in the market. So whenever the original vaccine which is present, then how this volunteer, he took this phase 3 clinical trial vaccine here. So because of this, we can say only 50% of the chances of volunteers, they are being administered with the actual vaccine. So this is the one unethical problem. And finally, this article mainly says that Opacity mainly marks the government communication strategy in the country. So in this way, whenever this type of approval which is given before testing of that drug properly, then there will be the increase in the distrust regarding the vaccine, because India is also running one of the world's largest vaccination program, that is universal vaccination. So regarding this universal vaccine program also, there may be the distrust that may be increased between the government and as well as the people. So this is the gist. And now let us see what is this vaccine hesitancy. So this vaccine hesitancy that mainly refers to delay in acceptance, or the people they may refuse to take the vaccine despite of the availability of the vaccine services. Though we are providing the vaccine services, people do not accepting those vaccines, or whenever the people are not ready to take that vaccine or refusing that vaccine. So this condition, it is called as a vaccine hesitancy here. So this vaccine hesitancy, it is a one of the complex and as well as the context of specific varying across the time, place and as well as regarding the vaccines. So these are mainly influenced by compliancy, convenience, confidence, and this vaccine hesitancy may also cause because of the increase in the spread of the rumors regarding the vaccines. So this is about vaccine hesitancy. Now let us see the next article. Title says don't ignore the women farmers. So this article mainly focusing on gender gap in agriculture. So this article mainly providing some data regarding gender gap that is present in the agriculture sector, and that data will be very important to write the answer and to substantiate your argument. And this article will be important regarding GS paper 3 under economy, which comes under GS paper this GS paper 3 under economy, and this article especially important regarding mains and also essay. So let us have a detailed discussion on this topic. So if you are talking about the introduction, so in the introduction, author said about the MS Swaminathan what he said. MS Swaminathan once said that women who were the first dominator in the crop plants, they initiated the art of science of farming. They started gathering the seeds from the native flora and they began cultivating these plants mainly for the purpose of the food, feed, fodder, fiber, fuel, etc. And in this context, he also said that men, they went out for the hunting in search of food. So the female opted for this farming for the first time, not by the men. So if you are talking about the misconceptions regarding the agriculture, so one important misconception here is whenever we talk about the agriculture, so we think men as a farmer but not women. So this is the one of the major conception. So now let us see the data to substantiate this statement. If you see the data, it says that about 73.2% of the rural women who are engaged in the farming activities, but out of those 73.2%, only 12.8% they own the land holdings because of some reasons like cultural reasons, social reasons, religious reasons, etc. If you are talking about this Human Development Survey, according to this survey, it says that 83% of the agricultural land in the country which is inherited by the male members, and only 2% will be inherited or they are present with the female counterparts. So because of this less land holdings by the female, they are facing some problems like women are left out from the title of the landowner, and they are excluded from the definition of the farmer, and women, they are excluded from all the benefits of the government schemes, and the women, they are not guaranteed the rights which are given to the farmers like loans for cultivation, loan waivers, crop insurance, subsidies, compensation for their family in the case of suicides, etc. So because of these reasons, we can say men are mainly farmers whenever we think agriculture. So this is one of the important misconception. And the next one is 81% of the women agricultural laborers, they are coming from the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and as well as other backward classes. So they contribute to the largest share of casual and as well as landless laborers. So in this context, Mahila Kisan Adhikar Manch, that is MAKAM, mainly notes about some of the important problems like there is unequal access to the rights over land, water and as well as a forest to the women. And there is also gendered access to inputs and as well as the markets, and the gender access to the support system like storage facilities, transportation cost, cash for new investments, agriculture credit. So these are these all mainly lack into the women, despite of their large contribution of the women farmers to the agriculture. So they do not get these benefits here. So because of these reasons, so women farmers, they are reduced to the marginal section, and they are mainly vulnerable to the exploitation as well. So because of this problem which are facing by the women, now because of this new formulas, it is also adding the new worry. So the new worry include government policies, they never aim to reduce a disparity, that is gender disparity in the agriculture, and women farmers, they also have the fears like it will further deepen the gender inequality in the agriculture sector. So these are the two important things. So in this context, Markham mainly highlighting some of the issues which are faced by the women farmers. The first one is in this formulas, they do not talk about the MSP. MSP, it is the assured price that is given to the farmers, right? So because of there is no thing which is regarding the MSP in the new formulas, it is one of the cause of concern. And the next one is women, they are not empowered because they do not understand or they cannot negotiate with the agreements which are given in this contract farming. And this article also says that there is no bargaining power in the corporatization of the agriculture because there is no safety net, and as well as there is no adequate redressal mechanism that can be taken by the women in this corporatization of agriculture. And regarding the small and marginal farmers, they will be mainly forced to sell their land to the big agro business, and they will become the wage laborers. So these are some important problems or the new problems which will be faced by this women farmers with this new farm laws. So this is the gist of this article. And now let us see the next article. Title says an anti-disclosure amendment that hits the public health. So this article mainly talking about patent. So the recent amendment which is came up by the central government in this patent, and what are the issues regarding that amendment. So these are the things which are mainly talked in this article. Now let us see this article in a great detail. I will try my level best to make you to understand this article. So this article will be important regarding science and technology, which comes under GS paper 3. And this article will be important regarding mains, not from prelims. So the context here is central government recently published Patent Amendment Rules 2020. So it is mainly coming up with the amendment of one important statement. So it is regarding the Form 27. So this statements normally talks that patentees or licensees, they are required to annually submit to the patent office regarding the information to disclose the extent to which they commercially worked and made their patent inventions which are available to the public in the country. So what is the meaning of this? So first of all, this statements mainly says that patentees or the licensees who got the patent from the government, they need to submit one annual report. So that annual report, that should include the information like how commercially worked and how they made this patented inventions which are available to the public. So this is the information that to be provided by these patentees or licensees to the patent office every year according to this statement. But now the central government came up with the amendment to this statement. So this amendment mainly diluted this patent working disclosures. So these patent working disclosures are very important, very important, but because of this amendment that led to the dilutions. So these dilutions that will hamper the effectiveness of India's compulsory licensing regime, and it will hinder the access to the vital invention like life-saving medicines. So it will impact the public health. So whatever the thing I said now, you will understand at the end of the article. Don't worry about that. Now let us try to understand what is a patent here. So this patent, it is a granting of a property right by the sovereign authority to an inventor. So when any inventor who come up with a new invention, he will granted some property right by the government. So it is called as a patent. So after getting the patent, that person will have the exclusive rights regarding the process, design and invention. Mainly it will be given for a designated period of time. So the designated period in India, it is 20 years. So for 20 years, the monopoly on that patent will be enjoyed by this patentee. So if you see, according to the Indian patents law, it mainly imposes a duty on the patentee that to commercially work with the invention in India and the patentee that he should ensure that the benefits should reach the public here. So if you're talking about the purpose of the patent, the first one is to encourage the inventions, and the next one is to ensure that whatever the invention that is made, that will be helpful to the public at larger interest. But whenever this purpose of the patent which is not achieved by the patentee who got the patent from the government, then now the government will have the power to go for the compulsory licensing, which is under the Patent Act of 1970. So whenever the purpose of the patent which is not achieved, then government will go for the compulsory licensing. So if you're talking about what is this compulsory licensing, so as we know, whenever the patent which is given to any inventor, then he will enjoy 20 years of the time and he will enjoy the monopoly here. That means if any company want to prepare that same product, that company need to take permission from this inventor mainly to go for the production of so and so. So whenever we are having a compulsory licensing, that means government mainly allows someone else to produce the patented product by this inventor or the process which this inventor patented here. So that will be done without the consent of the patent owner. So this is the compulsory licensing. So what is the issue now? So PIL, that is Public Interest Litigation, filed in the 2015. It mainly talks about three important things. So it says that there is rampant non-filing and the defective filing of Form 27 by the patentees and the licenses that is seen. That means they are not filing this. So this is the first important issue. And the next one is government strictly need to enforce this working disclosure rules. So if at all any person who is not following those rules, they should be punished. Okay, so this is the second issue. And third one is, it mainly also talks about there is a need for the reforms in the Form 27. So later on, after 2 years, government came up with the amendment. So with this amendment, government further weakened this provision. So government amended mainly for the removal of the requirement of submitting a lot of important information under Form 27. So because of this skipping or because of this dilution of this provision, that is mainly damaging the core essence of this patent working requirement and also the Form 27. So as of now, what this Form 27 requires? So now it requires only whether the patent worked or not. If at all patent worked, so what is the revenue or what is the value that got by the industry or that manufacturing industry, and whatever the amount that came or that earned by this manufacturing company by importing it. So this is the first thing that should be made. And the next one is, if this patent is not worked, so what are the reasons why it is not worked? So what are the steps that are being taken by the company to make towards working of this patent? So these are the just information that should be given now by the patentees or the licensees. So now there is no need to provide any information regarding the quantum of invention manufacturing imported to the India or not. So this information which is not necessary now, that means how much it gained or how much it is imported, how much it is gained by the imports, so and so, that is not required now. And next one is public requirement at a reasonable price or not. It is not important now. And the next one is licenses, sub-licenses which are granted by that company per year, that is not asked in the new form here. So because of this, whenever this quantum of invention manufacturing or imported to India which is not present here, so it is an important thing mainly to grant compulsory license or not. So because of this information which get to the patent office, then only the government have the ability to analyze the data, whether it is reaching to the general public or not, whether the important purpose of this patent which is followed or not. So if this important purpose of this patent which is not followed or which is not achieved, then government have the capacity to impose this compulsory licensing. So because of this data, our India came up with the first compulsory licensing which is given to the Notco company regarding the anti-cancer drugs. So in this way, this article says finally that mainly because of these amendments, it weakened the critical duty which is imposed by the law on the patentees and the licenses that will help to disclose the patent working information. So this is the first thing. And the next one is, it also prevented the invocation of the compulsory licensing by the government. and there is lack of accessibility in the case of patent drugs by many people. So there will be also some adverse consequences that is seen on the public health. So in this condition, finally this editor, the author mainly says that government need to reconsider this PIL recommendations and it should go for the re-amendment of this patents rule. So this is the gist of this article. And now let us see the question. Question is, what is compulsory licensing and what are the advantages of this compulsory licensing? Answer should not more than 100 words. Okay. So please try to write the answer. So these are some important articles which appeared in the Hindu newspaper. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos. Thank you so much.